The future doesn't look too good. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Political division getting worse every day, inequality skyrocketing, the rich and powerful getting more than ever before, at the expense of everyone else. Rising sea levels, rivers drying up, and oh, we are only at the beginning. It's gonna get much worse from here on out. No action taken, as those with power have bought nearly every politician, all to further enrich themselves. I'm almost 19. This is going to be my world, a world which, statistically, I will spend 57 more years on. And dropping. But the weird thing is, that's not what really gets to me. I live in a stable financial situation. I personally have not been affected by climate change. Much. The future is so far away, why should I worry about it? No, what really gets me is what I feel when I see my fellow generation. And when I say that, I don't mean it in the way you think. I'm not saying this generation is soft and has it so much easier than previous generations because we didn't have to clock a 12-hour shift at the asbestos mines. It's the vibe I get. To say there is a general sense of hopelessness would be accurate, but there's more to it than that. The best way I could describe it is a feeling of emptiness, not in a sociopathic way, with a lack of emotion. If anything, folks today are more empathetic than ever before. It's in believing something, knowing that things can change and get better. It's in ambition, striving towards a set goal, wanting something more. Sure, this generation believes in things, no one wants the world to get worse after all, but when it comes to voting and taking any action on those beliefs, there's a disconnect. Too much work, too much hassle, the politicians are all the same, why should I bother? The time it would take to attempt to cause any real change would be better spent scrolling endlessly online, a stream of distractions, words, sound, images, it doesn't matter what, just anything. How long have you been on YouTube today? 2 hours? 3 hours more? Do you have a personal interest in any of this stuff? Do you genuinely care about this knowledge? It's a distraction, a fun thing to waste your time on. But when the average daily social media use for Gen Z is over 4 hours, there's a problem that's not being addressed. And I get it, you know? Being online for hours beats being alone for a minute with your thoughts. Thinking about scary things, like where the random tides of life will take you, or dreams that will never be fully achieved. Or the chance that maybe Ronald Reagan could be resurrected. Things that make you feel terrible, better not to think. Even worse, it can be a cycle. It kills our passion, it kills fulfilling hobbies, taking away time from the things that could genuinely give our life fulfilling meaning, leaving nothing to do but distract ourselves even more. Some people will respond to this saying social media connects us, and to an extent, that's true. We are technically more connected than ever online. So why is it that there is a loneliness epidemic at a scale never seen before? Hell, this was a problem before the pandemic hit. So many problems coming from every angle, political, social, economic. But you want to know the best part of this? None of that matters when you have an endless buffet of distraction. Bread and circuses, that's all we really need. These companies don't even have to hire people to make stuff. We will do it ourselves for peanuts. Every video feeding into the endless cycle of recommendation, watch, and forget. I'm feeding into that cycle. AI is strange. I remember almost 2 years ago goofing off with AI art, generating up some true monstrosities, then rapidly forgetting about it. Yet the tech still progressed. Generation from text became better, faster, more available. ChatGPT 3 released, blew up, became a nightmare for the school system. Like when 3 of my teachers mentioned ChatGPT in the same week and how they would give a 0 to anyone caught using it for an essay, it was at that moment I knew this was going to go deep. It felt like the dam was breaking for how a lot of people thought about AI. It could now actively aid someone who wanted to use it and be useful in a tangible way to the average person. Like cheating on LA essays in 4th period, for a completely random example. Spark notes, my beloved. I hope they will remember you in 10 years. Everything's progressed so fast, and it's only gonna get faster from this moment on, now that mega corporations smell the blood in the water and see possible revenue to be made by investing in AI. And I'm sure in the long run they have altruistic and noble goals in mind. Because when it comes to AI, I've seen a lot of people believe in that future. One where AI will push the world in a more efficient direction. One where we can produce and can provide more for everyone, automating mundane and soul-crushing work, freeing up a lot of our time for leisure and exploring the arts, a utopia of progress aided by AI. That's just the future. But before we continue, have you ever wanted to give money to a moron? Well, don't use it on yourself. Give it to me instead. Let's see what this channel's old mascot, Blobby the Blob, has to say about it. Oh, what a goofy goober. Anyway, say the line. Say the line, or you're going down there with them. That's all, everyone. Now back to the video. The oldest parts of Gen Z are already in the workforce with college degrees. Contrary to what you might think, it ain't just young teenagers and little 10-year-old dipshits. It's now primarily a lot of people who are in college or about to be. Hey, kinda like me. I know for me at least, and I assume a lot of people my age, it feels so far away. A job, rent, taxes, but it's heading towards all of us rapidly. And the odd part is, for our generation, there ain't really a long-term economic goal. There used to be a goal, buy a house, save for retirement, but that has largely died. Not even with this generation. Millennials, people in their 30s and 40s, are screwed already. Have you seen the median wage in the US compared to the median price of a house? Take out taxes, rent, food, the occasional luxury item, saving for retirement, God forbid a medical emergency, and we get calculating now a large middle finger. We are most likely going to be a generation of renters. And that money that could have been spent on a down payment for a house, poof, gone, heading straight into the open wallet of a landlord or corporation that will probably use it to buy more housing, to rent out, to make more money that nearly none of us will ever see again. At least us Americans aren't as screwed as the Brits. Yeah, that's right, we stay winning since 1776. Though on the topic of money, that's one more thing that really gets to me. How money is viewed and used by a lot of folks nowadays. It's all for consumption, a better phone, designer clothes, a brand logo on a backpack that does nothing but triple the price. Consume, consume, consume. The worst part is, I can't blame anyone for really doing this. The future doesn't look too great. Why not enjoy the present? So it's no wonder why we've seen a slow and steady decline in the number of people investing in the stock market. That actively hinders the enjoyment of the now. But you know what that causes? Even less of what these companies produce goes to the standard person. People who work 9 to 5, spending every cent they have to pay rent and buy food. Instead, it goes to the richest among us, the ones who don't have to worry about the minor inconvenience of freezing or starving if they miss a bill. The people who can afford to have 99.9% of their income go into the market. And with an average yearly growth of 10% over the last 50 years, you can see what has happened. 10% of 10 billion in 20 years turns into 67 billion. Stretch that out even more or start with a greater amount of money and you can see the fucking problem. Sure, this is not guaranteed, but on average, this is what has happened. So statistically, we are fucked. But oh, it gets worse, as if you have a huge amount of wealth, you can use it to exert more control over companies and businesses, buying up small competitors before they become a problem, taking all their talent for further enrichment of yourself. Oh, and we aren't done yet. I haven't even mentioned lobbying. Want to know what the tax rate was a few decades ago for the top percentile of earners in the US? 91%. This forced the rich to either invest in their businesses and write it off, or get taxed. That changed, and now the standard person is getting a smaller slice of the pie and a complimentary ticket to your fuckville. And even worse, we'll never be able to feasibly bring it back to how it once was, as the uber rich can lobby using a fraction of their wealth to block any change from happening. Hell, the majority of Americans want to raise taxes on the rich. Not just that, but remember the impending climate crisis Gen Z is worried about? You won't believe the numbers for that too. But despite all of this, what major changes have happened? It doesn't matter who is in office, nothing ever changes. And it's all due to them. But hey, you know, what's the worst that can happen when an ever-increasing desperate populace has no political power to change things? Yeah, it looks pretty bad for everyone. But hey, even though temperatures are rising, there is one thing that's falling. The amount of money the median person has, which is pretty bad because, you know, we have to use money to fucking live. And worldwide, life expectancy is largely correlated with wealth. And in the United States, when everyone year over year is getting less, it should come as no surprise that our country's life expectancy flatlined years before COVID hit. The soul and a livelihood of a nation being drained for profit by the super rich. But at least for some people in this country, they can get by with a low-paying job. It ain't much, but it's survival. At least there are the scraps for people to barely live off of. What happened to manufacturing was a bit beyond my time, so this might be a little bit inaccurate, but here I go. Turns out, businesses like it when they make more money. So when they found out that their products could be produced at a lower cost abroad, they ditched the United States in pursuit of profits. Cheaper labor in China, India, measures to cut costs wherever they can. Why am I talking about this out of the blue? Well, it is because there very well could be another wave of job reallocation, just this time, not to another country. I want you to imagine the future that these tech companies are promising for AI. One where nearly any job a human can do on a computer can be automated, taken over by a worker that does not need to eat, does not need to sleep, is 10 times more efficient than a standard worker, and of course, doesn't need to be paid. We aren't at that point. Not even close. Well, not very close. A few jobs in journalism here, and a few background artists on a show there. Good thing I'm not any of those people. Why should I worry? I want to be a video editor, and obviously that career path is 100% safe and secure. 5 to 10 years. That's what I always see people say online. Don't worry about it. It'll be 5 to 10 years before AI is good enough to pose a threat to X industry. Don't worry about it. My plan is to be out of college in 6 years. I don't know the future. Maybe this AI stuff will fizzle out. Maybe it was all just a fad and we will all laugh about it in a decade, like NFTs or Beanie Babies. Or maybe it'll work out and be fine in the end. But in the back of my head, there's that thought. What if it doesn't? What if AI gets better, continues to improve at its current rate? Will there be a viable career for me? Hell, will there be a viable career for a lot of us? It doesn't need to be all jobs, just 10, 20%. The more easily automated work. The stuff they would give to beginners and newbies starting out. That's enough to where I'm screwed. Wait, I'm sorry. I mean, we're screwed. All of us. Everyone. Everyone who got in late and didn't have a few years of work experience, and now physically can't get them. It worries me. It worries me quite a bit. Data analysts, artists, animators, writers, video editors, everyone is in the same boat here if things continue at their current rate. And I mean everyone. I'm talking trade jobs too. They're screwed, just indirectly. Because I want to dispel the stupid fucking talking point of just get into a trade, bro. Trade jobs are safe from automation. That's true, but what do you think happens when there's a rapid influx of laid-off, white-collar workers looking for a new, stable profession? What would that increase of supply do to the value of these jobs? In fact, if there are a bunch of laid-off white-collar workers, there would be a huge decrease in the employment of these trade workers. It is absolutely necessary to have folks in these jobs, but we can't be a nation of plumbers, so that's it then. Doomed to be replaced by an algorithm. Anything to increase the bottom line. More stuff produced at a lower cost. But I need to ask, who is this really good for? If a substantial number of people get their jobs replaced, who will buy these products? How will the market keep from stalling? The system we live in is already straining under pressure. What happens when we add a 10-ton supercomputer to its back? I have seen a lot of people argue that AI will create more jobs, just like the adoption of the computer did. I'm not buying it. The computer is a tool. An efficient tool, yes, but it still needs to be manned. A car can't go without a driver. Well, it can't go very far, that is. But with AI, we ain't making the car go faster. We are replacing the driver, unmanning the tools. Sure, someone needs to direct what these programs do, but that is not a job that will require hundreds of millions. This tech is meant to replace us. Maybe I'm being reactionary here. Maybe AI will augment our pre-existing skills and increase efficiency, like all these tech companies are promising us. But see, I have a little problem. It's called being untrusting. More specifically, it's called being untrusting of giant super mega hyper greedy corporations saying they have our best interests in mind. Because I can assure you, the nanosecond it becomes more profitable to have a machine than a human for a company, the human's getting the axe. Don't believe any corporate family bullshit. You are a cog, and one that will be replaced as soon as something better rolls along. So we're screwed economically, we're screwed socially, we're screwed environmentally, but that's just the tip of the iceberg that could be screwing us. Echo chambers are a real problem online, and in real life. Surrounding ourselves with people and information that solely conform to our viewpoints is unhealthy. I hope everyone can agree on that. But with the emergence of social media and the internet, echo chambers have just drastically gotten worse. There is a moderate percentage of Americans who do not believe the last election was won fairly, based on, I don't know what, vibes or some shit. I wasn't in the chambers that reported something different. Maybe I'm actually in the wrong here, naive and blinded due to my unwavering faith in our democracy. I would like to believe I did my own research, unbiased news sources, all sides, and evidence accounted for, but I don't know, I'm just one dumbass. So I can only hope that my version of reality lines up with what actually happened. I see a lot of people who make fun of these folks. Stop the votes, count the votes, but I want you to put yourself in their shoes. Imagine if everything you watched and consumed said that Trump would win the election in a landslide. Then, when the day came, surprise, things didn't quite pan out the way you were told they would. Then, your favorite commenter starts talking about fake voting machines and fraudulent mail-in ballots. It makes sense, that was the only way he could lose. Any other media company that reports otherwise is biased and bought by the elite to help Biden win. And snap, just like that, there is a different version of reality from my own. And it's about to get a whole lot worse. Deepfakes. You might laugh at them now, and I can't blame you. Some of them are janky as hell, but they're funny, right? we
boy,
get a little chuckle, a little chortle at them. But if it gets better, if it improves even a moderate amount, political discourse as we know it is over. Anything and everything is on the table. It's not gonna be big things, stuff that could be fact-checked like Joe Biden declares nuclear war on China, or some shit like that. It's gonna be small things. An unflattering voice line here, an outdated phrase there. Not that you need much of a deepfake for that. A whole different world can slowly be built from the ground up for those that want it. This is already done now without deepfakes, but with them, you can become 100% convinced that your view is correct. Because you've seen it with your own eyes and heard it with your own ears, the only things you can trust in this world. And of course, if a politician you genuinely support says or does something terrible, it's a deepfake. Reality becomes subjective. That really scares me. It could truly make the division we have in this country right now seem like a relaxing summer day at the beach. Well, at the very least, we will have AI-generated shows and movies to dull the pain. Speaking of which, let's move on to a lighter topic. The eradication of human creativity. I have already stated my opinions on AI art in this video, so to summarize, I believe it could be a useful tool if it is ethically sourced and used in a way that does not alter the final creative vision of any artist using it. Breaking news, those two things ain't gonna happen when the corpos get dollar signs in their eyes, because believe it or not, you have to pay people to write for you, to film for you, to edit and animate for you. So if those companies get the option to cut out those costs, you bet your ass they will take it. Again, maybe I'm being paranoid here. The text-to-video stuff we have so far is lacking, to say the least, but the amount it has improved, very, very worrying. It's less bad than it once was, and if that means it can get to being good, we are kinda fucked. I mean, can you imagine a world where anyone can get any content they want generated up by just a whim? If this does ever happen, it's decades away. But if it is really possible, I would argue it would be horrible for all of us. A stream of perfectly calibrated content to our liking. Think of the problems we have now with social media addiction. Imagine that cranked up to 100. A never-ending torrent of addicting content with not a single human behind it. No new moral or lesson to be learned, only one that has been regurgitated, stolen off someone else. A perfect distraction from an ever-worsening world falling to corporate greed. I hope in 20-30 years I look back on this unhinged rant and laugh all the way through it. Maybe AI will push everyone forward, make the world a more equal place where everyone can easily achieve their dreams, soul-crushing jobs a thing of the past. Or maybe it's all hype and it'll just die out. But you know what? I don't know anything. I'm just along for the ride. The best I can do is hope it's a good one.